that, but I think my hand was a bit trigger happy, shall we say. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We are here. I guess what I want to say really now is this. We don't need, the issue right now is about Africa needing, the US and UK have recently stopped their aid to Africa. Yes, they recently stopped the aid to Africa, and a lot of people are concerned, or there's this idea that people in Africa are scared that they're dependent on the aid. And I'm here to say and welcome to Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. Yes, it's Citizen AY here again. We're here talking about the issue about the aid. Let me see if I can find retouch on. Okay, I don't know if that's gonna work. I don't know, but we'll try anyway. So we are here talking about the fact that the West are saying that they're giving Africa aid. They're not giving Africa aid. They've never given Africa aid. All of that aid money is to cement their control over Africa, to ensure that the Africa never develops any system of freedom, to free itself from the bondage in which Africa has been placed. So when the US says they stop, you heard recently, we now know that the US, instead of that, when they say the US aid is actually funding insurgency, terrorism, and all of that. That's the reality. But a lot of people are not aware. We are trying to bring that to your attention. We're trying to make you aware. We're trying to make sure that our people understand what is really going on. The aid, when they say it's an aid, the aid is simply to aid the extraction of resources from Africa. It is not supporting the local people. The aid, the foreign aid that the UK gives or the US gives, it is there to ensure, to empower, to continue to ensure that the routes to extract our resources on the cheap remains clear. All of the NGOs, believe you me, they are playing a game. The NGOs, the foreign NGOs that are in Africa, they are there to ensure that the routes to extract our resources on the cheap remain open, remain, well-oiled to continue looting our resources. And that's the fact. As Africans, a man was saying it on, I think it was on LBC. He's saying Africa doesn't need their aid. And that is absolutely right, Would like £1 million? Well, listen, £1 million, what's £1 million? It's nothing. The dollars is getting worthless. I don't think you understand what is going on. The dollars is losing its value very fast. Many central banks across the world, they are rejecting the dollars by the drove. China is dumping the dollar. Many other African, European, many countries around the global south, they realize that the dollar is a trap. They realize that the dollar is a trap used to trap many of the global south countries, to force them using a system whereby they extract the dollar. And the World Bank and the IMF, there is a financial structure designed to extract wealth from the global south. That's the honest truth. People may not like it, but that's the fact. But I'm here to tell you that aid, this talk about aid, we don't need the aid, the USA aid. You found out now, it is there to support insurgents, not to help the local people. The UK is the same. They are all aimed at making sure that, I don't need the money. The dollar, I don't need that money. I don't need the money. I do not. I'm not talking right, but that's the fact. What, Jeffrey Naylor, what do you mean I'm not talking right? Is BRICS not a reality? Is BRICS not a reality? It is a reality. The fact is that the dollar is the Western system. Look, let me break it down like this. For those who are in the Western, in Europe, using the dollar is fine. It works fine because it's not extracting wealth from you. It is, you're working with like for like, you have accepted the value of the currencies and you're trading among yourselves. But in the global south, in Africa, for example, the dollar is extracting resources on the cheap. Likewise, the CFA francs. That's the reality. That is why, hey, SG. So that is why we are saying what we're saying. We're saying that we don't need any aid. Africa is the richest continent on the entire world. Africa is the richest continent in the entire world. This aid that they're giving. The aid is actually there to cement the extraction of resources out of Africa, to continue to make sure that nothing interferes with the extraction of resources out of Africa relentlessly. I'm talking Congo. I'm talking Central African Republic. I'm talking Sudan. I'm talking Ethiopia. Where you have all our. I'm talking South Africa. This is the reality. That is the reality of what we are faced with. So we need to be very Ethiopia. Yeah, exactly. Yes, of course there are Western Ethiopia. So we're talking Nigeria, Ghana. Look, the rate at which resources are being taken out of Africa is insane. The rate, let me say that slowly, the rate at which the Western powers take resources, oh, okay, SG, great. Yeah, please share the broadcast. The rate at which the Western powers are sucking the resources out of Africa is insane. And then the same people that are sucking out the resources from Kenya, from Congo, from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Cote d'Ivoire, in Zimbabwe, Uganda, you name it. The Lobito project. There is something called the Lobito project. They want to facilitate to smoothen the process of extracting resources out of Africa. So they've created money now to build Lobito project to link all the areas where they're taking the resources to make it quicker. So this is what I'm saying here. It is so important that we Africans begin to understand, and we tell our people who are home to understand that when they say aid, we need to understand what aid they are talking about. The aid they are talking about is the aid to ensure the routes that they've created to allow the easy extraction of resources out of Africa remains uninterrupted. It is not aid meant to support the people in the communities where there's no water, where there's no road, where there's no light. It's to cement, to make sure that it's as difficult as possible for those communities to develop. The international aid that they're talking about is to ensure that Africa remains underdeveloped. That's the reality. And the many who are in the West need to understand that when they hear they're giving aid. So now when they say the US is dropping from 5.5% to 0.3% of the GDP, people, oh no, we shouldn't be afraid. That's the reality. That's the reality of what we are faced with. And as Africans, T plays. I'm okay. Yes, I'm calm. I'm very calm. But somebody was trying to tell me that we need aid. We don't need aid. It's an illusion. For an African, aid is an illusion. It is a trick. It is a trick. You take with one hand, you give with one hand, and you take with the next. That is what aid is. The aid is cementing the division of many parts of Africa. Look at Sudan. Look at Ethiopia. Look at the Congo. Look at Central African Republic. Look at even in Uganda, in Zimbabwe, in Kenya. Look, all of this, it is geared towards ensuring that Africa remains divided. So as Africans, we don't need their aid. What we need is for Africans to begin to unite and work together. First thing first, if they say so much that we need aid, why are they preventing Africans from trading among Africans? Let me ask that question. If they say that Africa needs trade and aid, if the Western powers are saying that Africa needs aid, why are they doing everything to prevent Africans from trading amongst each other? Why have they kept the borders intact to keep us divided so we never support each other? Why? Why? Ask that question. Ask that question. Why is it that they do not, under any circumstances? If you notice, the French, they tell you, you're a sovereign country, right? Yeah, you are. But we have rules. You cannot trade with anybody else except me, except France. That's what France does. The UK does it differently. Oh, we got an international trade. It's better to do trade with us. All of it is designed for if you notice, the trade is going only one way, out of Africa. Out of Africa, straight out of Africa. And the trade is about our resources. They call it different names, corporations, companies, whatever. It is all about one single collective aim: the continued uninterruption of the resources extracted on the cheap out of Africa. And that is what we have to understand. And that is the reality of what we as Africans must begin to tell people back home. Those who are in the government, they are puppets. They are, greetings, Linda. Those who are in the government, they are puppets. And I mean proper puppets that are under the control of the colonials. They are handpicked to ensure that they control their sphere of influence. Those aids that they're talking about, the US said it. They used over 700, 800 million to create insurgency, not only across the whole of Africa, creating insurgency, disturbance, division. So we don't want their aid. We don't need their aid. We don't want anything to do with the aid that they're giving. The aid is there to divide, to keep Africa divided, to keep us from truly achieving our independence. We must say no to it. It is really, really important, to wake up and begin to spread this message. In fact, Africans should say no to aid. We should say no to aid. And furthermore, I will come back and talk more about the currencies. We should start rejecting. Africans should no longer be allowing the use of, on the African continent, of foreign currencies in the country. We shouldn't, and that's the problem. Many people just think when they see dollars is accepted in Kenya, it's accepted in Nigeria, it's accepted in Ghana, it's accepted in Ethiopia, it's accepted in Morocco, it's accepted all over. And what that does is it renders our currency worthless. Now, when our currency goes worthless, it simply means that the US currency can be used to buy. They are using it to buy our resources on the cheap. Yeah, well, it's corrupt itself. Well, this is an SG. Yes, they can say that they're corrupt. I agree with you to a certain extent. But if you notice, the people who are corrupt are normally handpicked by the very puppet, by the same colonial leaders to put them in to control Africa. But they cannot do that. They cannot do that with Ibrahim Traore. They cannot do that with Assimi Goïta. They cannot do that with General Chiani. They've tried. They have tried everything they can. Right now, Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, they are the three of the fastest growing economy in the world. They are three of the fastest growing economy in the world. The development that is happening in Burkina Faso is in 2 years that Ibrahim Traore is there. The development, the building of roads, the building of hospitals, bridges, the securing of the land to make sure farmers are able to grow. Farmers are going back. But Burkina Faso is self-sufficient. Okay, I was in Ethiopia for 6 months, and for a month, and I changed a lot since because of the new president, Abiy Ahmed. Is changing Addis Ababa a lot. Good to hear, SG. Well done. Fantastic. So the rate of development that is happening, they've been saying to us that Africa can never develop. Africa can never do, can never. And yet, in the face of all of their projections or their excuses or trying to sort of projections on Africa, it is clearly failing, because those countries, they are building roads. They're building, having manufacturing companies. They are building cars. They are building schools. They're using their own clothes. They're self-sufficient. They don't need the Western system. They don't need to be stuck in the financial structure that is a rent-seeking system. It is a rent-seeking system that is sucking the life out of generations upon generations upon generations upon generations upon generations of Africans. And this is why we say we must support the alliance of Sahel State. And by the way, they have a new flag. It's a green flag, a great symbol. And that flag was launched a day or so ago. And it is to show the strength and the confidence in Africans. and we need to support them. Every African must support the Alliance of Sahel States, because what they are trying to do is to ensure that we have our own currency. We have our own we revel, we enjoy our own culture. We talk about Africa in a positive light. We see the greatness in all our communities. Do you know? And Linda just sent me something, and I'm going to try. Yes, absolutely. Today we found out that they found one of the largest golds, like a ball like this. I'll see if I can show you. And in Burkina Faso, and Ibrahim Traore said this is going to be shared among every citizen in Burkina Faso. That's a first. He will be sharing this among every citizen. So, you see, when they say they are giving us paper aid, the aid they are giving us is, one, is paper. Two, it's a ploy. The aid they always use, you need to understand that when the diplomatic talk of the Western powers is always double speak. It is always double speak. When they speak, up is down and down is up. So whatever they tell you they are doing, expect the opposite. So when they say they are giving you aid, no, they are taking from you and they are giving those who are oppressing you aid to continue to oppress you. That's what they're doing. When they say to you, oh, we are going to stop insurgency, no, they are coming to support it. It's always double speak. And it is time we Africans understand that. And that is what Ibrahim Traore has understood, that you cannot trust anything that comes out of the mouth of the Western hegemony. You can't trust a single word. Whatever agreements they reach, look at what happened. Look at what is happening to Ukraine. Look at what is happening to Ukraine. They said to Ukraine, oh, no, don't worry. We got your back. We got your back. Whatever you want, we got it. Yeah, we got it. Yeah, they pumped everything in. They give them. Now look at what is happening. Look at what is happening in Ukraine. It doesn't, I'm just using it as an example. In Ukraine now, they are now asking for 50% of the mineral resources of Ukraine as its payment for the money. Can you see? They didn't say that to them at the beginning. Now they suddenly bring it. As SG said, you are very correct. One thing Abiy Ahmed done was accept help from Chinese infrastructure. I hope, unlike Western countries, they won't use our national resources. Exactly. This is it. So you can see that the West, everybody watching, please make sure that we must be in touch with our governments, and it is on us, particularly those of us who are in the system, who are in the West. We need to begin to tell our government that whatever promises they make to the government about any deal that they get into with the West, it is not what the paper it's written on. It is not what the paper it's written on. It usually means the opposite. We end up paying more and more and more and more and more. Let me give an example of how good Ibrahim Traore is. Ibrahim Traore, within 2 years, is building one of the best and the largest hospital in West Africa. It's called, I can't remember what his name is called, Bobo Dioulasso, I think it's called. And he's building it. Now, he borrowed money from China, 60 billion CFAs. Now, guess how he's going to pay for it? He's going to pay for it with resources. He's going to pay for it with the resources. The same thing he did. He bought the plane. No loan. He bought a 98-seater plane, the first for Burkina Faso in so many years. And he paid with the resources. You see, trade by barter. He don't need IMF. He doesn't speak to the Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso. They don't have anything. They have zero interaction with IMF or World Bank. And what happens to the economy? The economy is going that way. It's going up. It's blossoming. But if you look at all the African countries that are working with IMF, World Bank, 10 years, they have not paid the loans that they're taking, and the money has been spent. Instead, they start cutting more things. They start making the lives of the people more difficult. They start making it difficult for people to buy loaf of bread. They start making it the cost of a corn, the cost of everything goes up in this IMF loan and World Bank. So say no to any of those things. And that's why I'm saying, above all, we need to understand as Africans, we must tell our governments we don't want any loan from the Western powers. They are not rich. We are resource rich, meaning that the wealth is in Africa. We don't need anybody's help. We don't need handouts. What we need is for them to leave us alone, so that we need to trade among ourselves. The best way, if they are so sure that we need help, if they want to test whether or not we can be self-sufficient, let them leave us alone and we trade among ourselves. And let's see how Africa will blossom. They need us. It is important we Africans understand this. The West needs Africa. Africa doesn't need the West. The West needs Africa because of the resources in Africa. That's the reality of it. And many African governments have not understood that. And many of the people, you see, they handpick people who they can control. Bazoum was easily controlled by France. They can't control Ibrahim Traore. They can't control General Chiani. They can't control Assimi Goïta. Can you see that? These are the realities of what we're saying. So please, let us make this a message that is going to go far and wide to many Africans. We don't need aid from Western powers. Africa is self-sufficient, and it is being borne out by the fact that right now, they are growing so much food in Burkina Faso that they are now looking to give to other African countries. And that is why we need to trade among ourselves. Why is it that the Western powers in Europe, they encourage free trade among the countries in Europe? But when it comes to Africa, oh no, you have to trade along the lines of your colonial former colonial masters. Oh, so if you speak in French, you have to go via French. If you are speaking English, you have to go via England or US. Why? And why are we as Africans complying to that? It's time to break free from the bondage. I restate it again. Every single aid, so-called aid, it is a way to suppress Africa from ever becoming totally independent, to feed itself, to protect itself, to educate itself, to educate its people, to innovate. It is about control. It's about tight control of the development of Africa and never allow Africa to grow. It's about controlling the destiny of millions of Africans at the expense and keep us enslaved in our land. We need to say no more. We need to reject this outright. We need to just reject it outright, and we need to walk away from it. Please share this message. Tell your people, tell everybody that you know in Africa, that every African government, the first thing we need to do in Africa to end this problem of poverty is to trade among Africans. When Europe is trading among it, when Europeans are trading, they have European free trade, EFT. So you trade among each other. If you're in the EU, it's free trade. There is no restrictions. But in Africa, they're putting restrictions. To get your goods from Ghana to Nigeria, you have to go through filling paperwork. To get your goods from Ghana to I don't know, Senegal, you have to go through paperwork. All of this stuff. All of that doesn't happen in Europe. This is designed to slow down the interaction, to make us get used to the idea that nothing works in Africa. This is a psychologically induced hunger. The hunger that we are faced with in Africa and across the whole of Africa is a psychologically induced hunger, one that we must break down without question. Without question, we do not wait for any permission. We need to take control on our continent. And the best person for that job, the best way to do it, is being demonstrated by Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, Assimi Goïta of Mali, General Chiani of Niger. They are doing that work. I state it categorically. How many times have you heard him say we want to go and borrow money? Since he's been there for the last 2 years, we want to go and borrow money from IMF or World Bank. You will never hear it because we don't need it. We don't need anything from there. We don't need IMF. We don't need World Bank. We don't need that financial structure. The financial structure, I'm going to come and explain. There's something called the SWIFT system. That SWIFT system is designed, when it comes to Africa, to pin down Africa and make it impossible for Africa to develop, because everything it's done is to charge interest upon interest. It is a rent-seeking system. It is a rent-seeking system designed to hold back, to frustrate, to actually hamper the development in all parts of Africa. And we need to devise our own system. BRICS is something that we can work with, because now the BRICS is going to respect and actually accept our currency. So you can do a trade for trade. So the Chinese will happily accept the Naira. But now what we need to now do is we need to start backing our currencies with our resources, i.e. gold. A lot of Africans have got gold. You know, the Western world now, they are buying up gold as much as possible. They are buying up gold. Why? Because gold will never lose value. The dollar will lose paper. Look, let me give you an example of how valuable gold is. You go and take $100 trillion and burn it. See what happens. Sorry, and set it alight. It will burn. Burn gold. The worst that will happen is it will melt. But it is gold. It doesn't lose its value. That's the point I am making. And we have this in our soil all over Africa. We need those gold to be mined by Africans, put in central banks in Africa to keep the value of our currencies, whatever they are, up. That's the reality. They made us, many African countries are holding dollars as their reserves. That means that the US can decide to destroy your economy at a stroke. That is why they are so afraid of BRICS, you know? Yeah, so look, nobody's saying the Russians are fair traders. No, but look, Africa must ultimately, the goal is for Africa to have absolute control of what happens on the African continent. Just like Russia has absolute control of what happens in Russia. China has absolute control of what happens in China. Now, Africa must collectively have absolute, unequivocal control over what happens on the African continent. That's the goal. But we will use steps, whatever steps. And do you think, if you see, Ibrahim Traore, he's making boss moves. You guys don't know. This guy is making intelligent moves. He's looking, when the time to come, you just watch. All we need is to continue to support Ibrahim Traore, Assimi Goïta, General Chiani, the Alliance of Sahel States, and to widen it. We need to continue to widen it. Hi, SG again. Yeah. We need to continue to widen that support. And we need to encourage, please, I want to encourage you as an African, please be proud of your language. Your language. In Yoruba, we call it a day. I am Omo Yoruba. I encourage every African. Our language, you see, the language shows how peaceful we are. Somebody said something to me earlier on today, and I didn't remember, I didn't clock on it so much, but I'm going to repeat it here. He said, he said to me, why is it that Africa has so many languages? And he gave me this answer, which I never thought about. In Africa, as big as Africa is, we allow the people to speak their language. Because when people are interacting, and it actually promotes peace. It promotes peace. The people, when they took over, when they won, they didn't try to get them to stop wearing their clothes or start practicing their belief system. They didn't stop it. That's what we did in Africa. But what these guys have done, they've wiped your brain to forget who you are and all of that. That is why our language is so important. So we need to go back to that. But again, I reiterate my point, and I state that clearly. As Africans, we must make sure that we start putting pressure on all African governments to reject. They must unequivocally reject anything called aid. Because these countries that are coming to give us aid, guess what? They haven't got the resources we have in Africa. Let me say that again slowly for those in the back. These countries that are saying they are coming to give us aid, 80-90% of them do not have the resources that we have in Africa. Yeah. Okay, yes, Amharic, yes, it's HN has stood. I agree with you. Yes, that's true. Yeah, they haven't, and they keep trying. So we need to, as Africans, understand, and I'm stating this now, we must begin to spread the message, share that message, and make sure that we all understand that the message from here on, the aid that they say they are giving is a trap. It's a trap. It actually has things to ensure Africa remains divided. We are not able to build the roads and infrastructures that we need, you know. So these are what we're talking about. Okay. Yeah. Not the like. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So what we're saying is this, as Africans, please, I want this message to go out there. African country, please know that you are the Africa is the richest continent in the entire world. Africa is the richest continent in the entire world. The resources that we have, the amount of resources that we have is unmatched anywhere in the world. And that is why they want us divided. Africa must be one. We must have our own security. We must ensure that we no longer allow foreign languages or foreign currencies to dominate the African land. We must have our own culture. You know, the hottest continent, yes, of course it is. So what we are saying, and I reiterate this, every African should be aware of this. Anytime you hear aid, no, it is not aid. It is the other way. When they say aid, no, it is to frustrate you. It's to oppress you. They are using double speak. They are using diplomatic word for oppression. They switch it. It's a code switch. That's what they're doing. And we have to understand that. And that's what they're saying when they come up with that. Don't fall for it. We must 100% begin to reject this. This oppression of us psychologically has got to stop. And the only people who are going to, the only way to do this, to take the chains off our mental state, take off the chains mentally. We have to take off the chains from our mentality. And it starts of raising the awareness. Yeah, you know. So what we are saying is that we continue to urge you all, get the message out there. We need to make sure that the more we spend dollars on the African continent, the more we entrap ourselves in the system that is keeping us from developing on our continent. We need to devise a system that is for, by, and created by Africans on the African continent. And if anybody wants to trade with us, they will have to trade on our terms. You see what I'm saying? It is really important that we understand that point. And I wanted to come and really explain that. You will see the write-up on the screen, and it will be clearer to you. But the topic today has been Africa does not need any aid from the Western hegemony. We need zero aid, because they don't have the resources that we have. The financial structure is designed to trap us, enslave us in our continent whilst they take our resources on the cheap. The financial structure makes our currency worthless. So, for example, Naira now, they're telling us that Naira is worth 1,000 Naira is only worth $1. No, 2,000 Naira is only worth $1. And that means that they can now use that dollar to buy more of our resources on the cheap. Safer. They say to you is only worth X amount of, compared to the euro or the dollar. Again, it's to buy your resources on the cheap. These are the realities that many of us have not considered. And I want us to strongly consider that. So please, you're listening to Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. Those of you who have been giving me the thumbs up, I'm really grateful. Thank you for your comments. I'll be winding down now, but I just wanted to reiterate that point and make sure that we are clear as Africans. We need to begin to project the greatness that we possess within. The paper, the dollar is just paper. If you burn up the dollar, guess what? It burns. That's it. But if you burn the gold, it will still remain. It might melt, it will melt, but it will remain. And in fact, you have to have the right temperature to even melt it. if you try to burn it. If you try and burn, you can't burn gold. You can melt it, but you can't burn it and it will disappear. You'll have to have the right temperature. We need to be thinking. So the paper that they're giving you is worthless. The paper money, and they're giving you the greenback, and they're using it to suck your wealth out. It is time we wake up on the African continent. And we support what they're doing, Julius Malema and the government of South Africa are trying to deal with. As I speak to you in South Africa, I will just add this before I close. In South Africa right now, yeah, it's a taking plane from West Africa to East Africa, but resources are taken from a train, a boat, a taxi freely from west to the east to the south. We need more airlines, black-owned. Yes, Kabiru, Kadinu, thank you. Well said. We need more black-owned. This is it. They don't want us to have any of these things. And you know what? The minute we have our own airlines, the routes, why is it that we have to fly all the way right across Africa into Europe before coming to another part of Africa? They are doubling the cost of traveling. They're making it difficult for us to interact. This is a psychologically, and they want us to psychologically continue to accept that. We need to break that down. Very good point, Kabiru, Kadinu. Well said. And I really, wow, that's a very, very sharp analysis. I'll come and dissect that. We even know that the journeys, we can reach all parts of Africa faster than having to go to any part of Europe and come back in again. It is a waste of, it's designed to frustrate. Everything they're doing is designed for us to psychologically accept that that's how it's always been, and we don't even want to change it, even though it's oppressing us. This is psychological oppression, and we need to break it down. So, yeah. So, like I said, the thing to do with in South Africa right now, in 1897, under Cecil Rhodes came with the Land Reform Act. In the Land Reform Act at the time, 99%, in fact, 100% of the land belonged to Africans. By the end of the Land Reform Act, 80%, 92% of the land was in the hands of the colonials, and only 8% was on the hands of the people of Africans. Now we are in 2025. Only 72% of South African land is in the hand of Africans. Only 28% of the land, 28% of the land is in the hand of 80% of the population. And now, yeah, 80% of the population, and 72% of the South African land is in the hands of 20% of the population. And that is why they are trying to do the Expropriation Act, and the US is going against them. We support the government of South Africa trying to do the right thing. The land was stolen on the Land Reform Act of 1913. And it started in 1897 under Cecil Rhodes. They stole the land. The land belongs to the Africans, and they have every right. And this is what we're saying. We need to know our history. I'll come back. I've done a show about this. I can do that again another time. But I hope this is making sense. I thank you so much for listening. Say no. Say a loud no to aid from any of the Western part. We don't need it. Africa is rich. We need to trade freely. We've had enough of it. We're tired of them looting from us. We need to put a stop to it. Thank you so very much. You've been listening to Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. Please subscribe to Citizen AY if this resonates with you. Hit the notification button, give us a thumbs up. Share it. Share, and share. I'll put the heading up so that others can be able to relate to the information as well. It's really important. Please share, and share. Thank you so very much. You've been listening to Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. About later on. Thank you, and bye for now. Bye for now.